I'm Aisha White and I make videos about communication for introverts. Hello to my OG subscribers, the subscribers that have been around for a little while, and welcome to any new subscribers that I have. Thank you so much for deciding to come along for the journey and watch these videos that I'm making. Now, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I make solo videos where it's just me talking about a specific topic related to communication, but then also there are videos where I interview other people. And that's in a playlist called Interviews with Smart People. Beautiful, talented people that I just get insights from. And it's really, really great talking to them and seeing how their brain works. And we cover all kinds of topics that are related to communication. Everything from addiction and recovery to photography and like everything in between. So if you've never taken a chance to look at some of those interviews, I highly suggest them. So the topic of today's video is saying no and setting boundaries. I think that everybody could use a little education, or at least a refresher maybe, in this idea of saying no and setting boundaries. I noticed that over the course of the last few months that it seems to be a recurring idea or theme. There have been a lot of, for whatever reason, particularly a lot of women who've talked to me about this topic. Different women that I've come into contact with in my own life that have been encouraging me to set boundaries, or we've just had that exchange of conversation where they are recognizing the fact that they need to set boundaries in whatever situation that's going on in their lives. And so I just thought that it was a great topic, and it's something that is relevant to so many people. So I decided to break it down into 3 different ideas. And those ideas are honoring your time, knowing your limits, and teaching people how to treat you. So when it comes to honoring your time, then you have to recognize the fact that you don't have time to give to everyone. We're all given the same 24 hours in a day, but depending on who you are and whatever your situation is in life, you usually don't have a lot of time to give to a lot of different people. You're going to prioritize. It's going to be the people who are in your life actively. So your family, your friends, someone you might be in a relationship with. You have work, then it's your work duties also. And so you prioritize based around the things that are important to you. And if you take that idea and apply it to other people also, they're prioritizing based upon the things and the people that matter to them. If you are giving of your time, for example, you're willing to check in with somebody. So maybe you text them, you call them, check in on somebody in whatever format of, in every mode of communication. And you have decided to make that time to check on that person. And if you realize that it's very one-sided and that person doesn't reciprocate in the same way, then that might be an indicator to you that that person may not value your time. If they call you up, for example, like I know I've experienced situations where somebody has wanted to hang out with me or talk to me, and when we're in each other's presence, they go, "How are you doing?" And I might not, I think sometimes they're like fishing for gossip, or they want to know something entertaining. And I might not have anything going on that's like juicy. Like I'm just like, well, actually I'm good. Or you just want to be positive. Like you don't want to be thinking about negative things that are happening. You just go, I'm good. I've got this or that going on. These are the positive things going on in my life. And if they don't respond with like good for you or congratulating you or just responding at all. Like I've been in situations where I tell the person what I've got going on and it's as if I didn't say anything at all. And they just go, well, this is what's happening with me, and go on and on about the drama or they're venting whatever's happening. And they don't even address the fact that you said what you said. And that's a huge red flag for me. If you start off by saying, how am I doing, and asking me, but you don't even care enough to respond to my response, then that's an issue. And you're not valuing me as a person and the things that are going on in my life. Really, you don't care. There are people that are going to say, how are you doing, and ask those questions because that's what's socially acceptable. That's what they're expected to do, is to ask, how are you and what do you have going on? But they're not really listening. They're just waiting for their moment to speak. And when it comes down to that, that means that they're not really valuing your time and they're not valuing you as a person. There are other examples of things along those lines that indicate that somebody doesn't value your time. Flaky people. I've experienced that too. When maybe somebody goes, hey, let's hang out, let's spend time doing this. If you're an introvert like me, then you know that you have a finite amount of energy and you refuel by spending time alone. So when you are in social situations, you at least try to be intentional about those situations that you place yourself into. So if you decide, hey, I'm going to carve out this period in time on this particular date to spend time with this person because they've asked, then you're doing that and thinking, okay, we both are agreeing that we value each other and that particular date that we've put down on the calendar. Well, you get closer and closer to the date and maybe you don't hear from the person and you start thinking about it and you're like, okay, and wondering, but you're like, hey, whatever, I'm not going to stress about it. And then you get to the day of and maybe you're hanging out in the evening and it's lunchtime and you still haven't heard from that person. So you go, hey, are we still on? And they go, I'm so sorry. No, I won't be able to make it. Or like you don't hear from them at all. Maybe they don't respond. And it's like a week later and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Or they just, they never address it. Then they do not value your time. And it blows my mind when things like this happen because I try my best. I'm not perfect. I'm sure that I know for sure that I have committed to something and then realized like real close to the date that I can't do it. But I try my best to at least address it before it occurs and not have them be the one that is reminding me that like, hey, you've missed this commitment that you committed to. So I just think that's another indicator to you that that person doesn't value your time. Everybody makes mistakes and everybody overcommits themselves at some point, which is another great point about your valuing your time that I'll get to in just a second. But everybody makes mistakes and everybody has probably done that at some point where they've been the flaky one. But if it is a consistent pattern with this person, then that's going to be an indicator to you. So like, don't get angry if somebody just genuinely forgets and that's the only time they've done that. Give them once, maybe twice, I don't know, 3 times, then they strike out. I don't know. But if it is a consistent pattern where they last minute cancel on you or like they just don't ever get back with you and you're like, we definitely said we would do this, then they're not valuing your time. They might not recognize that it is, a huge deal for you to make time to be around them and exert that energy. If you don't refuel by being around other people, and you refuel by being by yourself, then it's even more important that they recognize that that is sacred time for you, that you are willing to put aside for them. And they're like, that's part of my issue when somebody's like flaky like that. And I'm like, you have taken from my time. Like I could have been doing whatever I could have been giving that time to someone else. I could have been planning out moments to myself, whether I want to go read something, if I want to watch a movie, whatever I need to do to refuel. And now you've taken my energy and taken my time and I've invested this energy into planning with you or waiting on you and just anticipating being around you. And that was never going to happen. So once again, value your own time. And the point I was going to make about not overcommitting to things. Value your own time by taking care of yourself. And that means that you can't say yes to everything. You can't say yes to everything that somebody asked you to do because you only have so many hours in the day. So it's okay to say no. And don't feel guilty when you say no. Easier said than done. I know. But in the end, you'll be doing yourself a disservice if you say yes to everything because you won't be able to keep track of all the things you committed to. And you'll end up being the flaky one because you'll be like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I forgot that I said yes to this or that. And then burnout occurs also. Burnout, that takes me to my next point, knowing your limit. There will come a time in your life when somebody asks you to do something that's not reasonable, something unreasonable. And you may be asking, well, Aisha, how do I know if something is unreasonable? I don't know. The thing is, it's up to you to figure out what it is that is unreasonable because everybody has different boundaries, different levels of things that they are willing to do and are not, and how much they can actually give. And so it's up to you to recognize what that is and establish that with someone else. whether someone's asking you to go do errands for them, or if they want you to like care for their child, or something ongoing, something on a even grander scale. If you need to say no to that, if you need to think that through before saying yes to that commitment, whatever it is, you have to be upfront about establishing those boundaries. Because what happens is burnout. You overcommit yourself to something, and you could end up, there's a manifestation of it physically that occurs, where sometimes, if you're like me, it can take a minute for you to recognize that that you're burning out. It might not be until something physically knocks you off your feet. So all of a sudden you've got high blood pressure, or you're having like migraines. I don't know. It could be you're quick tempered all of a sudden now. And it's just a series of things that have led up to that point, and you weren't taking care of yourself. And it gets to a point where now everything's culminating into just like chaos at some point. And so you got to know what those boundaries are and establish those. You are the captain of your own ship. And so you want to take control of that ship and not allow it to veer off course. And I'm wearing my captain's hat right now. It's symbolic of that. And also the fact that I was listening to this song by a band called Cold War Kids, and there's a song called Audience of One. The lyrics go, "She will go down with her ship like a good captain." And it made me think about the fact that when you are someone who is a people pleaser, somebody that is consistently committing to things and not setting boundaries, you will 100% go down with the ship. Like, you are committed to it, and you're going to keep going, even if it's to your detriment. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to go down with the ship. You want to be able to steer it in the right direction and not go off course. So if we're thinking about valuing our time, if we're thinking about knowing our limits, then that's going to go hand in hand with teaching people how to treat you. If someone ignores you after you've had, interactions with them, and you converse with them, and then they just kind of go out and go ghost on you. If people ghost you and go away, then that is an indicator that for whatever reason, they didn't want to talk anymore. But what you don't want to do is chase after that person or keep trying to reach out to that person and get them to talk to you again, because that's communicating to them that that is the way that you are as a person, and that's what you're willing to do. You're willing to chase after them, to go after them. And it might not, if somebody's ignoring you, then it's not to your advantage in any way to try and reach out to them and try to figure out why. And I know there's a lot of whys in your mind, and why did they go away and things like that. It's not worth exerting energy and spending your time trying to figure out why. And you don't need to be a detective. You're like on a ship. You're a captain of a ship. Like, you're not a detective. It's fine. It's a totally different, like a job. Don't worry about it. What you want to do though is teach people how to treat you. So if you're willing to ignore me, if you're willing to mistreat me in some sort of way, then I'm not okay with that, and I won't accept that. And we're not going to communicate. We're not going to converse anymore. And that's the end. And you're teaching that person that that's not the way to treat you, and that's not okay. And then that goes into your time. So if someone is taking all your time, telling you about themselves and never checking in with you and seeing how you're doing and genuinely care, then don't continue to give in to that, because once again, you're teaching that person that it's okay to ignore your feelings and your thoughts, like you as a person, and the things that you care about are not valid. If somebody is talking to you in a certain tone and is disrespectful to you, do not respond to that. If you show them that you're not responding to that, then you are teaching them that it is not okay to talk to you in that way. I'm not saying go get in a fist fight with them, but there are ways to show somebody that, this is not okay. When you establish your boundaries in whatever way that is, however you communicate that, hopefully it's in a peaceful manner. However you communicate that is teaching somebody how to treat you over time. If they take you for granted, all of these negative actions that build up over time, they will continue doing it if you allow them to. they will continue taking advantage of your time if you allow them to. And sometimes it's done out of malice, whereas the person is smart enough to realize that you don't have any boundaries. They're smart enough to know that if they call late at night, you'll pick up and you won't go, I'm tired and I have things to do. I have priorities to take care of. If you're willing to drop everything and make time for them, then they know that and they will take advantage of that because that's what makes them feel good and they're not worried about you. But then there are also people who are not necessarily doing it out of malice. They might not realize what they're doing. If you are, for example, an introvert, if you're an introvert and that person is an extrovert, they are refueled by being around other people. And so they're like, hey, what's up? Let's hang out. Like, I want to be around you. I feel good being in your presence. But you might need your alone time. And if you have not gotten that, amount of allotted alone time, then you feel drained. And now they're sucking your energy and like having a good time. And you're continuing to give and not taking care of yourself, then it leads to burnout or maybe resentment where you're upset with them for taking up your time, talking off your ear, whatever it is. And they don't realize that they are, not mistreating you, but they don't realize that it is having a negative effect on you because you have not expressed it to them. So I'm just encouraging you to communicate your feelings, communicate your thoughts to other people. Put yourself in a place where you are able to recognize what your boundaries are. So once again, those 3 main ideas, which is to value your time, to know your limits, and to teach people how to treat you. And if you keep those things in mind, then I think it could be easier to say no and to establish healthy boundaries so people won't try you, so people won't take advantage of the time that you have, take advantage of the energy that you have to exert and what your talents are. You might be somebody who has specific talents and people are trying to use those talents. They recognize that and have you do like work for free if you're like a freelancer or creative or something along those lines. And they're like, hey, can you give me this service, and want you to do it for free. And you're like, well, I love you and I care about you and I like you, but I also have to make money, or, this is something that takes a lot of my time and there's value in that. So I hope that encouraged you. I hope that just, gives you kind of a boost to say, hey, on this one, whatever it is, I'm going to have to say no. On this relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, friendship, family members, people will, at some point, like I said, I'm sure it's probably happened in the past or it's common. People will ask too much of you. They'll ask things of you and then it'll become too much. And you have to make the decision as to what is too much. And like I said, it can be peacefully done. You don't have to get in a fist fight and like argue with them and like, you're asking too much of me. And you know what? It's just like gets physical real quick and escalates. Doesn't have to go that far. You don't have to go overboard. But I want you to feel encouraged and feel empowered to be able to establish boundaries, to say no when you need to, so that people will value you. People will respect you too. People will respect you when they know that you have boundaries, because they know not to like step past them. They know not to ask something of you that is just out of the question, because you show them in your actions, and in your words. So if you like this video, give it a like. If you would like to see more content related to communication for introverts, then subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to see you. Comment below if you were in that place where you didn't have any and you are starting to grow and you're realizing what your boundaries are. Just share information about that in the comments. I'd like to talk with you. I'd like to communicate with you. So thanks again for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, a beautiful life. I love you. I care about you. You're awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.